It's August 23rd, 2024. I've been watching some news stories on the internet about some things that I found very interesting. And I'll link it in the description box for you, but it's further into the broadcast. And I watched the Paul Begley show, and I found this very interesting. Mike from around the world was discussing a planetary orbit of Mercury is off its orbit. This is very interesting. I texted it, and I have a series of things that I texted. The orbit is on a course that's causing real disturbance, and the storms and high winds and weather will be impacted greatly. Earth can't sustain itself in a planetary collision. It could cause a collision or some kind of collision in the solar system, especially if it's Earth directed. We're in the beginning stages of now where people are dropping dead to excessive heat in the Middle East. But there are so many lies in the internet that they're scrubbing data. And then, interestingly enough, they discovered an oarfish, a rare occurrence of an oarfish in California, which is usually a bottom feeder, and it's usually found in the ocean, and it's usually an omen of a major earthquake that's coming. And the last time they saw an oarfish like that was when the Japan earthquake occurred. Now, there's been some news, of course, that there was another man planning an assassination attempt on Trump, and he was arrested. Trump was in Arizona where the shooter was planning to attack him at the rally. So there's some news on that. There's also some interesting news stories that I caught on to about Ukraine, how there's a plume, a toxic plume that's headed towards Poland, and it had something to do with a skirmish between Ukraine and Russia blowing up in a chemical factory. And it's stories like that that I found just by watching the internet. But I just have been watching some news bites and thought I'd report it in. And like I said, they do scrub this, and they won't let you see a lot of the news stories about the animal die-offs. They will ask reporters not to report it, or they will keep them away from these news stories. There is probably, for whatever reasons, these news stories are not getting to us. So I just wanted to log on. I wanted to see if the lighting was working. It is a lot brighter when I put the bright lights on, as you can tell. But that's just a story update that I wanted to post. As for some other news stories on the Rapture news updates, I find it's interesting that when we read the Bible or we're drawing close, that what concerns me is that if we focus too much on the rapture and not on Jesus, because I have to sustain myself. I have to remember, occupy till he comes. If I focus too much on just the rapture itself and like dates and things like that, I'll get anxious and I'll get upset, and I'll just be in a bad place. I have to think of it this way. Jesus is coming at a time when we least expect it, and we could just know this, that it's coming closer and closer to the 7-year tribulation and Jacob's trouble. And looking at the way things are going, um, especially with these talks and everything that's happening between Israel and Hamas, and now the news story about the 6 dead bodies of the hostages that were supposed to be released, and it was an agreement. Um, if you haven't heard the story, I don't have the specifics, but I do know that there were 6 hostages that were left remaining alive, or supposed to, and they did find them that they were assassinated or executed. So this is the story between the ceasefire and then the death of more hostages. How does this make a hostage release or ceasefire agreement possible? So watching this news and hearing about this is, of course, sad, and at the same time makes a ceasefire almost hard to negotiate an agreement between Israel and Hamas. So I don't know where people stand on this whole issue, but it's the whole reason that they are trying to make agreements. But I do believe at some point this will all shape into some agreement at some point. Probably not anytime soon, though. It'll all happen at the time of Daniel 9:27, when it's supposed to happen. But we don't know what that time will look like. It could be far in the future. And the way things are looking, it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. That's just my calculation. That's just my opinion. But I read the Bible like everybody else that does, that reads the Bible. We can all assess and make our own assessment. So for that, Jesus could come anytime. He could be on his way now. Who knows? We don't know. I would love to know the date and time and hour too. But until then, we occupy till the Lord comes. By the way, I have an audio series that is going to be aired on the weekends, so I can take some downtime and do something that I enjoy, is writing and reading books and putting together this audio series. So you might want to stay tuned for that. It is Grace and Michael Smithton sharing a very important chapter in the next series called New Beginnings. So stay tuned for more Saving Grace up next this weekend. Thanks for watching. God bless.